Hey guys, this is Lisa Simone Richards here, PR and visibility strategist for health, fitness, and wellness entrepreneurs. And you will notice beside me, I've got my buddy Scott Aaron on today. Hey Scott, how are you doing?
Doing great, Lisa. How are you?
I'm really excited. So Scott, you don't already know this. For the people who are on my email list, I sent an email today just letting them know that we were going to have a conversation and how you and I actually only connected, I think, for the first time ever last week. I'm going to have you tell them a little bit about what you do. I know that you're, a master connector on LinkedIn, and that's how you found me, and that's how we had this amazing conversation for like what, a half hour last time.
We did.
First time we'd ever chatted, and I think within 5 minutes we said to each other, people should be getting in on this. They should be hearing this. So that's how we're here today. So Scott, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi. So again, thank you for setting this up. It's always great to collaborate with like-minded people. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Scott Aaron. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I have spent the last 19 years of my career in the health and wellness industry. I owned some health clubs. I had a full-time personal training business in sports nutrition and business as well. I then ventured into network marketing about 4 years ago, obviously as a tool to obviously provide another solution for not only myself, but my gym and my clients. And that's when things kind of started to change for me, in the sense that I realized that I was part of something that was a culture of a personal development journey with a compensation plan attached to it, where I was starting to learn more about myself, my dreams, my aspirations that had been stuffed down for so long because I was in that hamster wheel of the day in, day out operations of living my life. And I'm now currently completely online with my businesses. I am still a full-time network marketer. I'm a business coach. I'm a life coach. I'm an online wellness coach. And I am a LinkedIn lead generation specialist. So I have a lot of things going on, but they are all tied into one main concept and one main vision for myself, and that's teaching self-love. Because if you don't love yourself, you're not going to love what you do, who you are, and who you're attracting into whatever you're doing.
And you have this amazing energy about you that I totally was attracted to and loved, and that's why we're having this conversation today. And something that actually really inspired me this week is, so typically on Tuesdays I'll send out a YouTube video, and based on the conversation we had last week, I was inspired to send one that was all about how to have the confidence to get seen. Because I think a lot of what I share with people is how to get out there. But if you're in a place where you don't feel comfortable with it, you think you're being judged, like, you're just not going to make the move to get out there in the first place. So that's why I thought it would be so important for us to have this conversation about setting your mindset for success. And one thing that we were talking about, how some people have a growth mindset and they're open to evolving and learning and growing, and some people tend to have more of a fixed mindset. So tell me, what was the moment for you when you realized that you had to get your mindset in alignment for the results to follow?
It's a great question. And I just got back from an event this past weekend where the event was capped off by 4.5 hours of Tony Robbins. So you can imagine how that went. So for me, something everyone has a different strategy and belief and system that works for them. But, for me, obviously mindset is key. Your thought process and your positivity is also key. But more so for me, what really assisted me in moving the needle in the direction that I wanted it to go in for my business, but my personal life and everything, was my vision. And when you can get a clear vision of where you actually want to go, who you want to be, who you want to attract into your life personally and professionally, but more so the vision of the life that you want to create for yourself, where you want to live, and this is, guys, don't get me wrong, this is not about having like the fanciest house or the 6-car garage, but some people are motivated that I'm not. I'm just motivated by a clear vision of where I'm going, and for my vision is impacting a lot of people. So I had to get clear with my vision on what avenues can I go down, what avenues do I need to find to start impacting more people's lives. Along that way, you end up creating other things. You create more income. You create better relationships. You create a bigger house if that's what you want. You create more cars along the way, because success comes with how many lives you end up impacting. If you're only impacting a small amount of lives, you can't expect to get a huge result. And it's something that Robin Sharma said. And for those that don't know who Robin Sharma is, his first big book was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And it's just a great book. He was a lawyer and just was living not the most impactful life, and now he impacts millions of people. And he says, if you want to make millions, then go find a way to impact millions. If you want to make billions, go find a way to impact billions. So when I started to hear all of this, and I had this, it's something that you and I talked about last week, I had this inherent want and desire to want to impact more lives. And I didn't know how to do it, because I was basically succumbing to the four walls that I was surrounded by within my gym, and the clients that were in my book. So I couldn't impact as many lives as possible. So when you can start thinking and visualizing expansively and not being afraid of what that expansive vision is, you start having the habits and the daily activities that are going to be in alignment with creating that vision. Because it's something that I think about all the time. If my vision, if my goal, my dreams, my aspirations, my wants, my desires don't scare me, they're not big enough. So the number one thing that I always tell people do is to go somewhere quiet, sit in a room, just have a pad of paper, a pen or pencil, and just get clear on your vision. Get clear on what you want your life to look like, what you want your family life to look like. What do you want to do each day? How do you want your time being spent? And then when you can see the vision of what you want, then all you have to do is figure out, how do I get it? So you have the blueprint for taking the step forward to creating that vision into your reality.
So here's my question for you on that one. I'm going to kind of backpedal a little bit. How do you even allow yourself to dream big? Because this is something that came up when I was actually coaching one of my clients yesterday, and we were talking about the direction of her business. And I was like, you know what? All I want you to do this week, and I remember you'd said this to me with a client last week too, so I had my kind of Scott Aaron moment yesterday, and I was like, all I want you to do this week, let's forget about the strategies we've been talking about. I want you to dream. Just think about, how could this look? What's the biggest it could be? And I think a lot of us are just so conditioned by our habits and the reality of what's possible. How can you even allow yourself to be like, you know what? I actually want to go to Necker Island and have my own yacht, and like, whether it's, travel the world and have an impact by doing volunteer work. A lot of the things that we want to do or that we aspire to don't seem realistic. So how do we even allow ourselves to accept that actually, yeah, this is a possibility. It could happen for you.
Another fantastic question. And, I like how you're using the analogy of backpedaling, because one of my other big beliefs is sometimes you need to take a couple steps backwards to learn how you can run forward. So for me, the biggest thing about, like, with dreams and goals and even getting to that space. So the number one thing that I did that really kind of started to tilt things and started to have me start thinking a different way was actually my circle of influence. One of the biggest things that I will tell people, and I'm sure you tell your clients this, you are completely affected by and influenced by everyone that's around you. So if you're constantly surrounding yourself by the same people with broke thoughts, people with limited thoughts, people with really bad money consciousness, that they don't have good relationships with money, they don't live expansively, they don't have an entrepreneurial spirit, they're comfortable with where they are, where do you think that's going to get you?
Yep.
It's going to keep you exactly where they are. So I'm not telling people, disown all your friends, cut off your family. No. You have to love and appreciate everybody for who they are, what they stand for, and where they are. And then you need to take a look at yourself. And you need to write down, like, those things. Like, what are the qualities that you feel that you're lacking that you want to improve upon? And am I going to learn how to improve those qualities from the people I have around me? So for me, I had to make a shift. So I wanted to learn from people that were smarter than me, that were more successful than me, that had a greater understanding of entrepreneurship than me, that were doing things for a lot longer than me, because it wasn't about me running and catching up to where they were. It was finding the path that they're on and starting to walk in their footsteps, because we're not going to create the exact life that they're creating for themselves, but it's at least going to take you down a path where your vision is going to become more clear, because now the fog's going to lift. The fog lifts. You can see what's ahead of you. You're never looking behind you anymore. You're not looking to your left or your right. You're just moving straight ahead. But the circle of influence around you is going to be the circle that pushes you onto that path that is going to allow everything else to fall into place.
And I think even to get to that place, there's a certain mindset that you have to have, because you're essentially saying that you're willing to be the quote unquote dumbest person in the room. You know, you want to surround yourselves by people who've achieved something that you want to get to, who are ahead of you in some way, shape, or form, but that means you're going to be the person at the back. You're going to be the person behind. Are you comfortable enough to let your ego sit back and be like, okay, I'm not the furthest ahead with this, but I'm going to, like, you know, parallel I can share is I started running with a running group this year, and they're all like elite runners, and I'm always at the back of the pack. And one day my coach pulled me over and she was like, are you okay? Like, is this messing with you at all? And I was like, no, they've been doing it for a lot longer, and it pushes me to be better. And I thought, wow, last year I would have never had that thought. I would have been so discouraged and not want to go anymore, and I would just stop.
And, you know, there's a big thing with that, is that, you know, we all have these thoughts, and this is something that Tony Robbins said yesterday, and he goes, you know, like you have all these thoughts going through your mind and your head, like, I'm not good enough, and, you know, I'm anxious about this, and I want to be a better parent. And he goes, those aren't your thoughts. You know, our brains are 2 million years old, because so he goes, if you can understand that your thoughts that you're thinking aren't your thoughts, there's a lot of people that think those thoughts. You give yourself that 90 seconds to feel that thought or whatever it is, and then you let it go. So if you constantly are thinking you're not going to be successful, if you're thinking you're not going to do this, you're thinking you're not going to live the best life, and you're thinking all this stuff, what you think about is what's going to be manifested. So you can't sit there and complain about your life, about the lack of money or the lack of love or the lack of success, if you're choosing not to change those thoughts. Because if you're thinking, oh, I wish I had more love, I wish I had more success, I wish I had more money, you know, I wish, and you're putting those thoughts out there, how do you ever expect to get anything back? And, you know, in regards to, like, you know, being, you know, the last person in that running group, there is no pinnacle. There is no peak. There is no mountain top, because everyone's, if you limit yourself to thinking that there's an end result, when you get there, you're going to be really disappointed.
So true.
Really. But so if you have the mindset that you're always climbing, you're always reaching higher, you're always trying to raise your standards of where you're going, it's going to constantly push you. And I don't care how much money you do or you don't have, how many companies you do or don't have. It's about always reaching higher and pushing yourself. And what you have to remember is that it's something that David T.S. Wood says, and he says, every master was once a disaster. You know, so
Ooh, I like that.
You look at all the people that are successful, but you don't know how many times it took them to fail to get to that point. But I can guarantee you, even when they did succeed, they were trying to think of new things that they can start doing to fail, to learn how to succeed again. We're always students, always. Even though we look up to people that might be teachers, those people that we see as teachers are looking up to someone else. They're a student that's learning from someone else, and that person, and it goes. So we're all students. So as long as you're constantly open to learning, more importantly, learning how to fail, so you can learn how to succeed, there's nothing that you're never going to not attain, because you know what to expect. And you learn what to expect by not expecting anything. You just have to go for it.
Oh, and that's the most challenging part. I'm always trying to be like, okay, Lisa, drop the expectations, but I still kind of expect something to happen. So it's always a challenge to get through that. So just for anyone who's tuning in a few minutes late, I'm chatting with Scott Aaron today, and we are talking all things about mindset and how to achieve success. So if you're just tuning in now, you're going to want to go back to the beginning because Scott dropped some amazing gems earlier that you're going to want to catch up on. So I'm kind of thinking, let's take it for the person who's like, I think one of the challenges that we've gone through life with this many beliefs. So I'm 33. I've had 30, let's say, years of a certain belief in my head, and now I want to reprogram it. What is the first thing, like whether that's a resource or a mantra you can say to yourself? What do you think is the first thing someone who has a little bit of doubt can do to start shifting their mindset?
Another great point. So, there's a different beginning for each person. And one of the things that I love practicing is gratitude. Mm-hmm. And they say gratitude is the best attitude, because I wrote a post one time. There's a lot of people that spend a lot of their time of their day focusing on what they don't have or wish they had, instead of focusing on what they already do have. And that could be just a clean pair of socks, or gas in their car, or a warm bed to sleep in. So when you can start practicing positivity, and again, I know this sounds crazy to a lot of people, but it's much easier to be negative and find something wrong than to be happy and positive and think what's right. So the first minute that you get up in the morning and before you go to bed, you should practice positivity. So for someone that is wondering, where can I start? Where can I begin? How do I start moving in that right direction? So I always tell people, and it's something that I do, and you can either do it in prayer or you can either write it down. And this is something that me and my son do, and I do it every night. I talk about 3 things that I'm grateful for that day. So you can write it down. There's a great book that I had. It was a gratitude journal, and you can get these anywhere. And if you just write down 3 things that you're grateful for, or speak out to whoever you pray to, 3 things: I'm grateful for my healthy body, I'm grateful for my healthy mind, and I'm grateful for waking up this morning. Practicing that, like the brain, mm-hmm. the mindset is just like any other muscle that you're going to work in the gym. You can't go to the gym, do biceps for 3 hours, and expect to have biceps. You got to practice that every single day. So for someone that is looking around saying, Scott and Lisa, what can I do starting tonight or tomorrow morning to start living a better life? It's about self-care, and that all starts with being grateful for what you already have and not focusing on what is not there yet. So it could be the same thing each night, but I challenge you guys, it takes 66 days to create a new habit. So for the next 2 months, just focus. Keep that tablet, keep that piece of paper or journal right next to your bed when you wake up or go to sleep. Begin or end your day with 3 things that you're grateful for that day.
And I love to always have some sort of actionable strategy, because I always think with these kinds of videos or interviews, there needs to be one thing you can leave with and put into practice. So guys, if there's one thing, let's call it gratitude. And if you want to, if you don't have a journal yet, I mean, obviously pen and paper will do, feel free to type in the comments what you're grateful for, because I would love to know what you're grateful for. So absolutely. One other thing I want to touch on before we start wrapping things up, Scott, is I'm going to guess, I think we're both believers in the law of attraction and whatnot. So I think what I might need is probably what some of the people who are tuning into this, whether it's live or on the replay, might need. So speaking for myself, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And what is a good pattern interrupt for when you catch yourself in a negative mindset? Because sometimes you might just be not so negative, but you might just be like, oh, I'm not good at this, and you just give it up. So what's a way that you can kind of just reframe right away and come back to a positive mindset?
So something that I learned from Tony Robbins actually this weekend, and I knew about this, but negative thoughts actually lead to an emotional connection, which then leads to a reaction to that thought. And negativity, which leads to stress and anxiety and everything else, actually you end up making yourself sick. And the one thing that I realized is, and this is a statistic, it's not made up, happy people live longer. Happy people live 15 years longer than people that are unhappy. So the fact of the matter is, there is never going to be a day where something doesn't come up where it could throw you off. So Tony Robbins has something called the 90-second rule. So if there is something that comes up, whether it's something that, frankly, just pisses you off or really shakes you and just throws you into a state where you're just so in your head, there's so many stories being made up, you got to give yourself 90 seconds. And you got to realize that those thoughts just don't exist. You're creating those thoughts, and you shift it. You pick up a book, you go for a walk, you call a friend, you put on a podcast, you do a power move, you just start moving around. Scream into a pillow. Do something to shift those thoughts. But when you can understand better and accept the fact that not every day is going to be perfect, that every day is going to be perfectly imperfect, when those moments happen, you're going to know how to get out of them quicker. Because again, everything is a muscle. Our reactions, our emotions, everything about that is about how do we shift it. And you shift it by maybe going into gratitude or appreciation or something that makes you feel good. Maybe going back to a moment where you felt just sheer joy. For me, the birth of my son. So when you can go into a moment, it takes your mind off of what is frustrating you and shifts it to a happy mindset. So it's practice. And the only way to get out of it is to do something about it.
I love that. And I think it kind of goes back to the only way out is through.
Yes, exactly.
That's something one of my coaches was saying today.
You have to just lean, it's like when you're skiing, when you're going down a ski slope, you're not in the back of your boots. Your poles are back and you're leaning into your fear. You're leaning into the hill. So sometimes you got to lean into the fear to push through it.
I love that. And I think that is just like the most perfect note to end off on. So Scott, love chatting with you. I know you and I are going to do this offline again. Maybe we'll bring it back online for the people to tune into. So for everybody who is loving what you are sharing, where can they find you?
So you can find me on Facebook, Scott Aaron, LinkedIn, Scott Aaron, YouTube, Scott Aaron. I do have a website. It's www.traineroflinkedin.com. Just like how it sounds. I am a LinkedIn trainer. So thank you for dropping that. So, honestly, I'm very, very available. Twitter, literally you just search Scott Aaron. You can find me on something. I'm most active on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I'd be, happy to connect with everybody.
Awesome. I love this. Guys, I hope you get a lot out of it. And if I can make one request of you, if you've gotten something from this, please share what you're grateful for today in the comments, because, it'll give me some warm and fuzzies. So thank you, Scott. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you all next Thursday.
Thanks, Lisa. Bye, guys.
See you later.